Divorce sucks. And there's one thing that's going to be certain in every single divorce, and that's that your financial situation is going to be changed. So it can be really tempting to think, oh, I'm just going to handle my divorce myself. Well, that actually, surprisingly, is not the worst of ideas. If you can handle your divorce yourself, I say, even as an attorney, do it. But today, let's talk about some of the things that you should know as you head into DIYing your own divorce.
Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up, where we flip the script on conventional legal discussions. I'm Rachel King, here to guide you through the murky waters of family law, estate conflicts, inheritance disputes, all of the dramas. We're not just talking about law, we're talking about how it affects your life, your rights, your future, and your money. From the courtroom to your living room, we bring you insights that matter. Dive into each episode ready to challenge, learn, and grow. Ready to change the dialogue? Let's begin. Gavels down, voices up.
Well, you've heard me say, and you'll hear me say time and time again, that knowledge is power. And even if you are considering doing your own divorce, I say talk to an attorney and understand your legal rights, because no matter what the agreement is or however your divorce shakes out, understanding your situation and what the law says, also with what is likely to happen, can make you going through the DIY divorce process a whole lot simpler. I always say, if you're not going to get the silverware, then why are you fighting over it? And that is what talking to an attorney can help you with. So before anything, even if you're going to do your own divorce, maybe even especially if you're going to do your own divorce, have a clear understanding of the legal rights and the laws in wherever you are divorcing. And then also understand this, before we get into all of the details, to get divorced, you must go through the court process. This doesn't mean that it needs to be high conflict or that you're going to have court hearing after court hearing. Instead, actually, I have had many people that have successfully navigated divorce and never stepped foot into a courthouse. How? Because there's e-filing and there's all of the things these days. But you still have to have a judge sign that divorce paperwork. So be aware that you are going to have to comply with all of the rules, and it's going to have to satisfy a judge so that a judge is willing to put their signature on it. And that's where some of these tips and tricks and tools can come into place as you navigate your own divorce process. So 95% of cases settle. That's a statistic that's been around for a long time. I've never actually heard it go up or down. So maybe it's stale, or maybe that's just so proven that truly 95% of cases settle, whether they settle outright or they settle the day of or during trial. The chances are that if you are going through a divorce, your case is going to settle. There's going to be an agreement reached. And if you can reach an agreement, it's really probably best to try and do your divorce by yourself. Even though if you have some areas of conflict, it can still be possible to go through a contested divorce on your own without an attorney. We'll talk about that maybe today or maybe a little bit tomorrow. In any event, the perfect scenario for a DIY divorce is where you're able to reach an agreement. At least you and your significant other are wanting to get a divorce. Maybe one of you does and one of you doesn't, but you're still communicating at a place where you can say, you know what, let's do this as amicably as possible. Divorce is going to cause a huge amount of emotions. It's a roller coaster. One day you're going to love, one day you're going to hate, and you're going to be a whole lot of in between all of the other days. But to the extent that you can come together and say, all right, we're going to make decisions to at least free each other up so that we can go through the emotional roller coaster, can be really, really helpful. In every single divorce, contested, uncontested, you name it, you have to deal with the issues of a divorce. So, for example, if there's kids that are minors, you've got to deal with custody and visitation. You've got to deal with child support. You've got to deal with spousal support. You've got to deal with the division of assets and debts. You have to. Even if you reach an agreement, or even if it's not going to happen, it still needs to be addressed in the divorce paperwork. Maybe you and your spouse both say, hey, we're not going to do spousal support. We're both self-supporting or getting there. Spousal support is going to be set to 0. It's a non-issue in your head, but in the court's position, it needs to be put down on paper. So as you are going through your divorce, look at all of the issues that potentially are there. Those are the big ones. And say what you want to have happen and identify whether you think you can reach an agreement or you have reached an agreement or you haven't. But you want to be able to identify the issues. And then, like I said when we first started, you probably want to go talk to an attorney to understand what is likely to happen when it comes to custody and visitation. Maybe you were the primary parent for the entire marriage, but now your marriage is dissolving. There's going to be two separate households. Is it realistic to continue to assume that you're going to be the primary parent? Or is there going to be some adjustment so that maybe both parents become primary parents? You need to look at your situation, find out what the rights are, find out what is going to happen so that you get an understanding of where you're going to be through the divorce process. This will, 1, help center you, 2, look at where agreements can be reached, and 3, help identify where the areas of conflict are going to be. And don't worry, just because there's area of conflict doesn't mean you can't handle your own divorce. In fact, it's very likely that you'll be able to work through those areas of conflict sooner if you at least understand that it is going to be a conflicted situation. And at the same time, if you know that something's not conflicted, you have children, you're going to have an equal timeshare, you both understand the importance of both parents having time with the kids, so it's going to be mutually agreed upon, and you think you can mutually agree upon it, just check that off. It has to be in the divorce decree, but it is not an area of conflict. Every single issue must be addressed. It must appear in your court paperwork, and then it has to be resolved. However you resolve it is either going to be between you and your spouse, soon to be ex, or it's going to have the court decide it in a contested issue. If the court's going to be deciding things, so you want to have the court deciding as few issues as possible, because I promise the court, I've done this a lot, the court has this much time for you and your case, and it's going to understand even less of the details of your case. So you know all the details of your life. So does your ex. And together, it's still going to be your family. Long after the court makes decisions and leaves, long after the attorneys that are present are over, you have to continue to live your family pursuant to the decisions that you make in your divorce. Hands down, even the worst, most awful ex, if you can reach an agreement, that agreement is going to be better than if you have a judge make a decision, because a judge is making a decision on this much information.
Let's take a quick break. If you're navigating the twists and turns of divorce, you might be wondering, getting divorced, now what? That's actually the title of my upcoming book, designed to guide you through the challenging and emotional process of divorce. It's packed with real-life stories, expert tips, and motivational insights to empower you every step of the way. While it's not available just yet, you can join the waitlist to make sure you don't miss out. Head over to rachelkingattorney.com to sign up to be the first to get a copy and enter to win a free signed copy as soon as it releases. Arm yourself with the knowledge to move forward confidently through this challenging time. Now let's get back to the show.
So if you're going to do your own divorce and you've decided, okay, I understand that this is potentially going to be an uphill battle, this is what you should do. Well, this is my general tips, I guess, for how I would handle my own divorce if I were going to be self-represented and we'll assume not an attorney. I would start with the courthouse. Go in, look for the self-help resources, the family law facilitators, talk to the clerks, get the forms together, get everything that you're going to need to do from the court so that you understand what the paperwork looks like and what the process is going to be. From there, I would start writing everything down. Legal names, date of marriage, date of separation, every asset that you have, every custody arrangement that you think might work for you, handling all of those issues. Write it all down. Put it in one place. After that, you might start compiling your evidence. Maybe there's a history of drug use and you have that text message where your ex tells you that they're so high they can't even function and they just peed on themselves. Well, that might be a very helpful piece of evidence as you navigate a custody situation that's likely to be high conflict. Putting your evidence together behind all of the issues can be really helpful. So now you've got all of the court paperwork, you've got all of the issues written down and what you think you want or what should happen. And then you've got the supporting documentation, the text messages, emails, bank statements, tax records, employment records, pay stubs, all of it. Pictures of the Rolex, pictures of the safe that have cash in it. Why do I say that? Because those are the issues that always become very hard. We had a safe full of cash. Okay, well, where's the picture of the safe full of cash? Because when I go ask your ex if they can give back half of the safe full of cash, they're going to say there was no money in the safe. And now we have no proof. So you want to start putting together all of your evidence so that you can support it. This isn't to say that we're going to turn an uncontested divorce into contested. It's really just so you have an idea of everything in one place. You're not frantically going around trying to find things. From there, start filling out the paperwork, at least in California. And I would be willing to say probably in every single state, one person has to file and the other person has to respond. And whether or not they respond might change the procedures in the divorce. But you have to start with filing the petition. Why? And giving it to the court. Because remember, the court has to sign off on it. So once you've got all this information together, fill out the court paperwork. File it. Get it served. Because you always have to serve in legal proceedings, right? We have a Fifth Amendment right to, or what is it? Notice an opportunity to be heard, right? Constitutionally protected right. So serve the documents. Again, find out how long you have to wait. Talk to your ex. Hopefully, before you serve them, they know that they're about to get divorced. That's a really good conversation to have, even with the most difficult exes. See if you guys can reach agreements. Maybe you can on some things, maybe you can't. But one thing is for sure. You know how to communicate with your ex better than anybody. You know when the appropriate time to talk is, words that are going to be trigger points. You know what they're likely to want. You know what you're likely to want. So pick times and communication styles that are going to be the most effective for you to get you through this divorce. And my goodness, don't think that your ex is all of a sudden going to be looking out for you anymore. They're probably not. Why? Because you came from a trusting marital unit to now survival. Both of you are trying to survive. So instead of saying, oh, I trust that you're going to file the petition for divorce, don't do that. Just file the petition yourself. If it does turn into a contested situation on one or more issue, you want to make sure that, again, you have your evidence, you file the paperwork correctly, and you prepare to be in front of the judge. You're representing yourself, but the court is still going to hold you to the standards of an attorney. That may not seem fair, and some judges might give a little bit of deference, some extra patience and latitude to get things filed on time. But the bottom line is you are still held to the same standards. So you've got to appear and handle your case correctly. This means you're not just going to roll out of bed, saunter into court and be like, please, Your Honor, this is what I want, throwing some papers that you've shuffled around. That's not going to work. You need to prepare. I have a 3-step process. I'm going to share it with you now on how you can appear in court the best. I think at least the best, given that you're doing this in your own case, you're self-represented, and chances are you're very, very stressed. 1, you're going to understand the law. And when you present to the court, you're going to acknowledge the law. For example, I understand that we have minor children and that the children should have the best kind of relationship they can with both parents. And I understand that we're looking at the best interest of the children. Period. Short, sweet, we packaged it. We told the court that we understood the law. I do think our children should have as much time with other parent as possible. However, I have some concerns because there's a pattern of erratic behavior. We've got a bipolar diagnosis and some substance abuse, making other parent sometimes unable to properly care for our children. That's step 2. You're going to raise your concerns. You're going to tell the court the issues that you have. You're not going to go down and say what a horrible person your ex is or all of the things. Don't do that. Nobody cares. And you know what? Here's just a little tip. The court already knows that you guys don't get along because you're in court on a contested divorce case. And then step 3, you're going to say what you want. Therefore, I think it's in the best interest of the children to have a a joint timeshare where we share joint custody, both legal and physical, and a joint visitation schedule with the children at my house Monday through Friday because I can get them to school and it's very stable, and then weekends with other parent because other parent doesn't work on the weekends and will be able to dedicate the time to them. I would also like the court to put in safety measures so that if there is any erratic behavior or it appears that their other parent is going through a manic episode, that visitation can be suspended until they make it through that time. You just told the court what you wanted, what the law is, what the issues are, what you want the court to order. Fastest way to appear in court if you're stressed out, and because you're only given about 5 minutes, you can do it really succinct. But again, don't go into court expecting to just create this. You want to practice and plan in advance. Wake up early, pretend that you care, fake it till you make it, right? You're not an attorney, but don't come in with saggy pants and flip-flops. Treat this as a professional proceeding because the bottom line, whether you like it or not, is this judge is about to make a decision that's going to affect you and your family for the rest of their lives. So treat it as having that much impact on your life. And then once you get through those proceedings, the judge is going to make a decision and hopefully you'll be able to package up your divorce. You've got your issues that you agreed on. Now you've got the decisions from the court about what is going to happen, and you can submit your final judgment and be divorced. If you decide that you're going to handle your divorce on your own, remember, you are not alone. Many, many people handle their own divorce cases, and you can too. Have the patience, the tools, and the time to get through your divorce and understand the process. If you do all of that, you're going to have as successful an outcome as possible. And I'm going to quote every judge I've ever been in front of, that if you feel at the end of your divorce process that you didn't get everything that you want and it kind of sucked, well, you probably did as well as you were going to do, because there's every single family, every single couple that ends up getting divorced. Both of them walk away thinking, well, that was shitty, I lost. And if you're thinking that, you probably did okay. If you are going to handle your divorce all on your own, have a therapist, look at an attorney, and understand your rights. Have patience with yourself, have patience with your ex, and have patience with the process, and you will get through it. It's a long journey, but on the other side of it, most people, they're happier than when they started. If you've done your own divorce, or you know somebody that has, whether it's been successful or turned into a complete and total nightmare, I would love to hear your story. Like, subscribe, share, and give me your feedback.
That wraps up another episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up. If you found value in our discussion today, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs these insights. Your engagement helps us grow and impact more lives. I'm Rachel King, thanking you for listening and reminding you to speak up, because every voice deserves to be heard.